My name is Tammy, a 39-year-old professional employed in the sales department of a trading company. From my college days, I've been drawn to leadership roles, adept at rallying people together. Presently, I oversee a team of subordinates, rivaling the seasoned male counterparts in sales achievements. I take immense pride in the unwavering support I receive from my female colleagues, bolstering my role as a dependable manager. Yet, returning home to my apartment after a taxing day, I find no one awaiting my arrival. Having parted ways with my husband of 17 years and chosen to live separately from my 15-year-old daughter, I now dwell in a freshly rented apartment, surrounded by yet-to-be unpacked boxes. Despite the chaos, I harbor no regrets. This marks the commencement of a fresh chapter in my life. Let me delve into why I've embarked on this new journey. In the past, I resided in an apartment alongside my husband, Bob, and our daughter, Rebecca. Bob, a former college classmate turned spouse, and I tied the knot after reconnecting post-graduation and dating for 2 years. Initially employed in the sales department of a printing company, Bob transitioned into a self-employed web designer, operating from the comforts of our home. Our daughter, Rebecca, is currently navigating her way through 8th grade. The initial warning came in the form of a shift in Rebecca's demeanor. I asked for the moisturizing cream, Dad. Oh, my bad, sweetie. I completely forgot. I'll pick it up tomorrow after work, I promise. You're so useless. Can't you do anything right? Rebecca began casting colder glances my way, her words growing sharper with each passing day. Initially, I attributed it to her teenage years, dismissing it as a phase. Dad, want to catch a movie with me on your day off? Sure thing, kiddo. What's showing? Previously, Bob would always include me in such plans, but now it seemed he had no reservations about excluding me. Hey, can I have some money? We're going to the movies this weekend, remember? $300 should cover it. 300. Seems a bit steep. Can't you just use your debit card? Just get it done. I'll need cash for shopping and dining out too. Gradually, even Bob's treatment of me soared. Our interactions dwindled, leaving me feeling increasingly isolated. Then came that Sunday, a day etched in memory, when both Bob and Rebecca voiced their dissatisfaction with the breakfast I prepared. What's this? I've told you I want my eggs over easy. Get it right. And this soup is terrible. I've mentioned my dislike for mushrooms countless times, but you still include them. Can't you say something to her, Bob? Why should I? You can't even follow simple instructions. You're the adult here. The chill in their words left me unsettled. Something wasn't right. I needed answers. But by the time I realized it, it was too late. One week, upon discovering Bob's intention to venture out, I resolved to discreetly trail him. Bob's typical routine revolved around his home-based work. There were no scheduled appointments at the barber or the doctor. So why this sudden outing? Suspicion gnawed at me. Regrettably, my suspicions were confirmed. In the cafe awaited a young woman, a woman in her 20s, possessing a striking physique. As they departed the establishment, arm in arm, my head spun, rendering me unable to pursue them. The dreaded day I had long feared had arrived. My apprehensions stemmed from a lack of confidence in my own appearance. I always harbored the fear that Bob might stray due to my perceived shortcomings in looks. While Bob exuded undeniable handsomeness, I often questioned why he had chosen me. Subsequently, I enlisted the services of a private investigator to delve into Bob's relationship with the woman. Your husband's paramour is a 26-year-old named Sofia Garcia, employed at a cosmetic surgery clinic. Among the photographic evidence presented by the detective, some were too explicit for me to bear directly. They depicted open displays of affection, hotel entrances, and disturbingly, there were images featuring a certain third party. And here's another. This one shows the three of them, including Rebecca. What could this possibly mean? So, it seems your daughter is involved as well. It appears that your husband's relationship with Sofia has the approval of Rebecca. I was speechless. A profound sense of isolation and abandonment washed over me. What had I done to deserve this? Suppressing the urge to cry, I mustered the strength to request the detective to also record conversations between Bob and Rebecca. Several times each month, they would coax money from me for their movie outings and shopping sprees. I was convinced that amidst their casual conversations, there must be indisputable evidence. Days later, as I listened to the audio recording provided by the detective, I was rendered speechless. She's so annoying. Can't even do the simplest things right, then tries to act like she's your mom. Why don't you just leave her? Sophia's been waiting patiently, hasn't she? Speaking of which, Rebecca, I think it's too early to talk about divorce. That's ridiculous. Sophia's been waiting, hasn't she? I've discussed it with Sophia. I can't stand being around that ugly woman. Same here, but she's the one bringing in more money. So, you understand, right? Is that a yes? I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's the plan. If I rush into a divorce, I'll lose access to that money. We need to proceed cautiously, withdraw as much as we can, then let Sophia move in. Exactly. I'll need to gauge if Sophia can handle that lifestyle, and if not, I'll have to persuade her. But I think she'll be fine. She's so accommodating. Beautiful women just have a different way about them, you know? Yeah, I get it. I regret it deeply. Marrying that unattractive woman was the biggest mistake of my life. That evening, beneath the scalding spray of the shower, tears streamed down my face. I wept until there were no more tears left to shed, and in that moment, I resolved to take action. Enough was enough. If that was their scheme, then so be it. I refused to be taken advantage of any longer. I vividly recall the arduous weeks that followed. Each day, I buried my emotions and forged ahead with the preparations for my liberation. Even on the day of Rebecca's middle school graduation, my heart remained numb to any profound sentiment. Oh dear, I can't seem to settle on a hairstyle. It's quite vexing. Whose genes sculpted this face? Truly, Rebecca bore an uncanny resemblance to me. Gazing into the mirror, I brushed off her usual snide remarks. Hey, I need some cash. Around $400 should cover it. What else would a kid need $400 for? Besides, it's your graduation today, right? Obviously, I'll be hanging out with friends afterwards and grabbing dinner with Dad. Reluctantly, I handed over the $400, silently declaring it the final time. Rebecca accepted the money without a hint of gratitude. Hey, I'm planning to get plastic surgery soon. Plastic surgery? So you're bidding farewell to this face that supposedly resembles mine. I can hardly wait. A complete makeover before high school kicks off. Okay. Ha, I'm surprised. I expected you to be more opposed to it. What a disappointment. Well, I won't interfere. It's your body, Rebecca. You get what I mean, right? It's only natural to consider plastic surgery with a face like this. It's your fault, she asserted. Later, I drove Bob and Rebecca to middle school. Just before reaching the school, Rebecca requested I stop the car. Dad and I will get off here. You can head home, you know. I don't want my friends to see you, right? Of course, I replied, heading back home. I had no inclination to attend the ceremony. Everything proceeded according to plan, a welcome relief. Upon returning to the apartment, I awaited the arrival of a truck and 3 men. We'll pack and move everything out. With the amount of stuff, it should take about 2 hours. Thank you. I appreciate your assistance. That day marked my relocation to a new apartment, leaving the divorce papers on the table of the old one. I had requested time off from work and spent it touring various domestic destinations, relishing the rare freedom. Though perhaps I could have savored it more without the persistent calls from Bob and Rebecca. A few days later, I returned to the new apartment, refreshed from my journey. After finally picking up one of Bob's incessant calls, he exclaimed, "You finally answered. Where are you? What are you up to?" "Just relaxing in my room, watching TV. Why the urgency? You sound flustered. Is everything all right?" "What do you mean? Is something wrong? What do you mean by your room? Explain yourself properly." "There's nothing." "What do you mean? You saw it, right? The divorce papers." "That's it. No further explanation needed, right?" "So you knew about what?" "If you mean your affair, I knew. I have no intentions of backing down. I figured, with your income, you can't support Rebecca. Tough luck, I'm filing for divorce and seeking alimony too." "Who says I'm going to pay alimony? We should discuss this matter calmly." "Sure, you can bring Rebecca along or not. It doesn't matter to me." With no desire to continue the conversation, I abruptly ended the call, powered off my phone, and severed all contact. I chose the cab for our discussion, the very same one where I had first seen Bob meeting with Sophia. But this time, only Bob showed up. There was no sign of Rebecca. She must be recovering from her plastic surgery. Poor girl. "Who's that with you?" I inquired. "This is my attorney, Mr. Johnson," Bob replied. "You brought a lawyer? Well, did you bring the filled out divorce papers as I asked?" "As I've said, I won't fill out such a thing. I'll tell you as many times as it takes." I have no intention of breaking that. Do you just want the money? I do. Do you think we can continue our marriage for that reason? What? Who said I'm after your money? Who said it? You're making assumptions about people's feelings. I nodded at Mr. Johnson, who then took out his smartphone and calmly pressed play. What ensued was a conversation between Bob and Rebecca from that day. Bob's complexion turned ashen instantly. It's quite an experience to hear your own derogatory remarks played back to you. I don't want to breathe the same air as that ugly woman. If I carelessly break up with her, I won't be able to use the money. Bob's voice echoed through the cafe. No matter how many times I hear those words, they pierce straight through my heart. Knowing that this is his true sentiment sends shivers down my spine. A recording? What the hell do you think you're doing? Bob exclaimed. What am I doing? I think I should be the one asking that. Did you use the money? I want to clarify something before we proceed. You have been seeing Sophia, correct? I asked, studying Bob's expression. Yes, that's correct, Bob affirmed, nodding. In that case, Mr. Johnson interjected, if you have no intentions of divorcing, we will proceed with filing for divorce in family court. We will also discuss the division of assets. The court will examine the circumstances and ascertain the facts to determine whether the divorce is warranted. Mr. Johnson held up the smartphone. The conversation you had with your daughter earlier is quite significant in this case. In my professional opinion, divorce seems highly likely. Oh, I see. I came here today to discuss what happens next, I explained, pulling out various documents meticulously prepared for this occasion. This chart outlines the money I've given you and when, and this document details the utility bill payments. What? What's all this for? Bob demanded, clearly taken aback. And here's a record of withdrawals from our joint account, I continued, presenting another document. Rebecca's surgery incurred significant expenses, didn't it? Eyelid surgery, eye-shape correction, double eyelid surgery, nostril reduction, filtrum reduction, creating tear bags, cheek and nasal bone shaving. The total costs amounted to $40,000. There's only about $20,000 left in savings. We used to have $70,000. You've spent quite a sum, haven't you? That was for Rebecca. I could replenish the savings. Do you realize I was the one who primarily contributed to that money? I could feel my anger rising. I'm willing to divide what remains in the account for asset distribution. I won't make any claims about the cost of Rebecca's surgery. However, what I do expect you to compensate for is the emotional turmoil I've endured. Keep that in mind. And by the way, have you been in contact with that woman, Sophia? No, not really, Bob replied. That's concerning. I had a private investigator look into her background. Turns out she has a criminal record. You need to watch your back. A criminal record? What for? Bob's alarm was palpable. She was charged with fraud and arrested. It seems she was colluding with the director of another cosmetic surgery clinic. What in the? She must have seen you and Rebecca as easy targets. My sympathies, and Rebecca's surgery. I hope it went smoothly. If not, we might have to negotiate with the hospital or even consider legal action. We'll need to assess whether the clinic is willing to settle. In cases like this, many clinics refuse to admit fault and become obstinate, Mr. Johnson added, causing Bob's complexion to noticeably pale. That's all for today. Send the divorce papers to Mr. Johnson. I will be providing my address. Wait, please, just one more thing. Can you lend me some money? Bob's plea was pitiful. I can't believe I ever fell for a man like him. Absolutely not, I stated firmly, leaving the cafe with Mr. Johnson, leaving Bob behind, visibly devastated. Rumors later circulated about Bob and Rebecca's downward spiral. Bob struggled to afford even a modest apartment on his salary alone. To support Rebecca, she had to take up odd jobs like newspaper delivery, and they downsized to a cheaper apartment, compromising their standard of living. Bob's web design projects weren't sufficient, and he resorted to day labor to make ends meet. It was truly pitiful, but Bob had to persevere. After all, he still owed me alimony. I decided to allow him to pay in installments. Paying the full $30,000 upfront would have been impossible for Bob, given his struggling business that barely covered his supplementary income. Taking out a loan was out of the question. I could have suggested borrowing from a loan shark, but I didn't want to subject him to that kind of pressure. A few days later, Rebecca called me. As expected, the surgery was a failure. It was far from what she had hoped for. Rebecca and I met at the cafe, having not seen each other in a long time. She still had bandages on part of her face. The surgery had left noticeable marks, and she would require further procedures to correct them. It was a dire situation. So still no luck reaching that Sophia girl, huh? Yeah, you were spot on, Mom. She saw us as easy targets, Rebecca remarked, gazing out the window with a thoughtful expression. She appeared more mature to me than ever before. Well, I should get going now. Part-time job first and high school homework. My schedule's pretty packed, she explained. Good luck. I wished her. Thanks, Mom, and I'm really sorry for all the trouble I've caused, Rebecca apologized sincerely. No need to suddenly be so polite. I won't be giving you any more money, okay? I won't bring it up again. With a nod, Rebecca left the cafe, marking the beginning of where I am today. I have few regrets. I'm content with my current life. Rebecca is practically independent now, and I hold no lingering feelings for my ex-husband, who had little to offer besides his appearance. I saw him recently in town, covered in dirt, working in construction gear and a helmet. Did he always have such sorrowful eyes? He looked entirely different. I hardly recognized him. Making a living is challenging, and he deserved to face difficulties after squandering so much money. It's not all about looks. I truly believe that now. I'll continue to do my best just as I am. With the reset button pressed on my life, the future appears brighter than ever before.